And that is the story that's dominating the front pages of the French newspapers this morning, which brings us on to Flo Volumino, who's been reading them all for us.
That's right, Kat.
Busy morning for you.
Busy morning.
Manuel Valls, humiliated.
That's right. It's a political earthquake. That's what the French papers are calling it today. So he was facing opposition, of course, from the right, from the center, but also from within his own Socialist Party. So he got a green light from the president yesterday to use the ultimate trump card, and that is Article 49.3 of the French Constitution, which allows a government to pass laws without a parliamentary vote. You can see Les Echos, the business paper here, is talking about the 49.3 turning point. You're going to hear 49.3 a lot today.
I was going to say, I've lived in France for quite a long time. I've never heard about it before. Last time it was used was 2006.
2006. It's a very controversial thing to use, and that's why it's used very rarely. But this is one of those rare occasions. You can see here, Les Echos, in its editorial, it's talking about the thunderclap of the 17th of February. There will be a before February the 17th and an after February the 17th. This is a major turning point for the government. Basically, the government is now facing an open crisis within the ruling majority at a moment when it was not really expecting it. It wasn't really expecting to have to use this trump card because recently there's been this show of national unity in the wake of the Charlie Hebdo attacks, and the government was really hoping to surf on that wave.
And I have to say, I mean, even Nicolas Sarkozy was facing huge opposition to his retirement reforms, wasn't he? And even he didn't use this law. So it really shows how rare it is. And people are saying it's an absolute crisis within the ruling majority itself.
That's right. Now, what we're witnessing is a very public breakup. That's what the French papers are saying today. Le Parisien, aujourd'hui en France, has the precise time that the breakup started. Wow. Yesterday at 16h25, 4:25 p.m. That's basically when Hollande gave Manuel Valls, the prime minister, the green light to use this trump card. So you can see here, Aujourd'hui en France, saying that is when the majority exploded, started bursting apart at the seams. Because the reason that Valls had to use this 49.3 article of the Constitution wasn't because he was facing opposition from the center of the right or the right. It's because he couldn't pull together a majority within his own majority. And so Le Parisien takes a closer look at why this happened, what happened behind the scenes. You can see here they're talking about a sinking ship. Valls was determined not to let these socialist rebels we've been talking about for months and years now, these socialist rebels who think that the prime minister is too much to the center, too much to the right, for their liking. He was determined not to let them defy his authority, and so that's why he pulled out this bazooka. That's what Le Parisien calls it today. Le Parisien says that the fact that he used this is actually a proof of a major failure on the part of the prime minister, a humiliation, as you said. So this bazooka, well, it's really a huge crisis for the prime minister.
And yesterday, if our viewers were paying close attention, Le Figaro, the right-leaning paper, they were praising these reforms and saying, actually, we think these are a good idea. But today, they are also attacking the government.
They're attacking the government. They're attacking this weakness within the government. Le Figaro talks about the fact that Valls no longer holds on to the reins of his majority. And this is a sign of a weakness for the prime minister. Le Figaro, in its editorial and in another article as well, says that what we're going to see now is a merciless war within the left. What we're going to see is a divorce, if you will, between two lefts. One that wants to stick to a traditional socialist stance, and one, like Manuel Valls, like Emmanuel Macron, who want to go down a more centrist social democrat path.
So what does this mean for the government then?
Well, what's interesting is that a lot of people are wondering if this socialist democrat turn that happened at the beginning of 2014 is actually going to be able to continue. L'Opinion says that any kind of reform now is going to be very complicated for the government and predicts that this social democrat turn is over. L'Humanité, the communist paper, says good riddance. The government was very arrogant to try to push this reform through, even though it was facing opposition within its own party. But what's interesting is that even though this Macron left, this Macron law is seen as being too much right-wing for the left and too left-wing for the right, it's actually, well, it's got the approval of French public opinion. And so Libération says perhaps Prime Minister Manuel Valls was right to muscle through with this reform. So what's going to happen next? That's really the million-dollar question. The government may seem weak right now, according to Le Monde, but it doesn't mean that it's on its knees. And Le Monde has a very interesting analysis piece that points out that the government has the backing of public opinion. So the chances are that it is going to be able to continue to reform, and especially because the opposition doesn't really have its ducks in a row either. And in fact, there's a cartoon today in Le Parisien which pokes fun at this. You can see Nicolas Sarkozy making fun of Manuel Valls there, saying, "You lost your majority." And Valls is saying, well, do you really have a united and coherent party yourself? And on the right there, you see the woman who is perhaps the big winner in all this, and that is Marine Le Pen, the leader of the far-right National Front Party. She's saying, well, it's going to be pretty lonely there in the second round of the presidential election.
Big explosive story here in France, but the papers are still having some fun with it. Thanks very much for now, Flo Villamino. He'll be back a bit later on to look through the top stories in the international press for us as well.